Greetings, my liege. It is I, Grimnar, son of Valnar, and today is the second lesson about the combat phase, following in the How to Rule a Kingdom 101 lesson series. I assume you've watched the combat maneuvers lesson, and now we can tie that knowledge together with the combat section. All the stabbing, hitting, slashing, wounding, poking, prodding, and fondling part, eh? War has been declared, or you have been attacked by an AI skirmisher. The move phase now becomes turn-based, with the person that declared war going first and AI skirmishers going first before all other players. Combat is very similar to other wargames, my liege. Units that are in contact with an enemy unit are said to be in melee combat. And whilst in this melee combat, your unit may not move out of that combat unless a withdrawn move is made, as mentioned in the previous lesson, my liege. After you have made all your moves with all your units, you then start the combat phase. First, select the unit and declare to the table who you are attacking with who. Roll a number of dice equal to that unit's attack value. Each of these dice must first roll to hit, comparing your unit's weapon skill against the enemy unit's weapon skill, and consult the combat to hit to wound chart. Every unit and building has a profile that lists their key attributes: movement, weapon skill, strength, toughness, number of attacks, and number of wounds. A unit's profile also includes any special rules, weapons, and armour it may have. Once a unit has rolled their attacks to hit, any rolls that rolled the acquired amount or higher hit their target successfully. Take those successful dice, and now with them you must roll to wound, using your unit's strength value, or their weapon's strength value, against the enemy's toughness value. Any of these to wound rolls that are successful do 1 wound point to the enemy each. If the number of wound points a unit has suffered equals the amount of wounds on their profile, the unit is killed and removed from play. However, before wound points are added, the enemy may have a save to make. There are 3 types of saves, my liege. Parry save, where your units can deflect an attack. An armour save, where an armour or some sort of shield stops the wound point. And or a ward save, which are magical shields or protections that defy my logical explanation. There are also roll modifiers, my liege. Just as in other games, weapons and armour can give special rules to units and give bonuses to these to hit, to wound, and to save rolls. Roll modifiers may make it impossible to inflict wound points upon an enemy. You may need a 7+ to hit, which is impossible on a die 6, or may make you automatically hit an enemy with a +1 to hit. Or perhaps a unit's armour is so strong it physically cannot be damaged by a normal, non-piercing attack. Combat maneuvers like making a charge or moving in shield wall formation also confer modifiers to your rolls. And other abilities and even magical effects, all which can add together to make a normal warrior unit a superior battle force. Once a unit has had an amount of wound points equal to their wounds on their profile, they are slain, killed, destroyed, and removed from play. When your unit kills another unit and removes them from play, they may immediately make a claim ground move that lets you move that unit into the slain enemy's position for free if you so wish it. In a future lesson, I will take you through the armory to look at the weapons and armour available to your units and the rules associated to them. The last main part of melee combat that can turn the tide of battle is flank and rear attacks. Whenever a unit makes a melee attack against an enemy unit's flank, their side, or rear, their behind, they gain +1 or +2 to their attacks respectively. To gain the benefits of a flank or rear attack, more than half the attacker model must be in that zone and must not have an enemy unit in their flank or rear themselves. The enemy unit must have another unit hostile to them that has locked down that enemy, allowing this flank and rear attack bonus to occur. I.e., in order to hammer in a hammer and anvil type tactic, you must have an anvil already locking down that enemy unit for you to hammer it with your other unit. See the free to pivot rule for more on this. Ranged combat is very similar to melee combat, my liege. To make a ranged attack, your unit must have a ranged weapon. Its target must be within that weapon's range. Your unit must have line of sight of the target. And your unit cannot shoot if in melee combat themselves. Instead of comparing a ranged unit's weapon skill against another unit's weapon skill, like the melee combat is, units that are making a ranged attack need only to hit independent of what they are targeting. Once that ranged unit has hit its target using the ranged to hit chart, then the normal combat chart is used comparing your weapon's strength against the target's toughness. Units wounded by a ranged attack can make an armor save and ward save only. If shooting at extremely close range and less than 1 inch away, many ranged weapons have the straight shoot special rule. This states that when the target is within one of them, they gain +1 to their hit and to wound rolls against that unit shot at. You may consider this a point-blank shot. You may not straight shoot over another model. Buildings and any garrison units with appropriate weapons may straight shoot even if the target is in contact with the building. Conversely, targets at long range are harder to hit. Long range is defined as anything further than half of the weapon's maximum range away. The target is considered at long range, and units shooting at long range suffers -1 to their to hit rolls. There are 3 laws of line of sight. 1. Models on the table all have a height, either short, medium, large, or totally tall. 2. Models can see and be seen over models of the same height or smaller, unless blocked by a taller model. And 3. A model must be able to see at least half of a unit's base to have line of sight of a target. As mentioned, all models on the table have a specific height. Short models include most units, and short buildings like models, bridges, trenches, and farms, and do not break line of sight. Medium models include almost all buildings, naval ships, and some large monstrous units, unless stated otherwise. Large models include arc buildings, monuments, and defensive buildings such as walls, towers, and castles. And totally tall models are things that are much higher than the tallest tower. Things like mountains and resource sites are totally tall in height, and blocks line of sight for all units regardless of their relative height. Units do not block line of sight of other units. However, if a ranged attack targets a unit that is in melee combat with a unit friendly to you between you and the target, you risk hitting your own unit, with any failed hits against the desired target being rolled to wound against your own units instead. Whenever determining if a unit has line of sight, use logical discretion. If a model can see half of the unit's base, then it has enough line of sight to target it. Units that are unpacked can only see in a 108-degree arc in front of them and are unable to move or pivot without sacrificing their ranged attack. This means that siege units and units with the move or fire special rule are extremely vulnerable to fast-moving enemy units from the side or rear. Now, whenever a unit is killed and removed from play via a ranged or melee attack, 2 things happen. 1. Veterancy. Whenever a player's unit attacks and kills or removes from play a unit in melee or via a ranged attack, you may roll a die 6. On a 5+, your unit gains a level of veterancy. Villagers, siege, and zombie units do not give a veterancy when killed. If a non-monstrous unit kills a monstrous unit, they gain a level of veterancy automatically. And deaths from magic or spells do not give the caster veterancy. Secondly, a unit can drop a scavenge token. Whenever an infantry or cavalry unit is killed, you must place a scavenge token in the place where they were killed. This indicates that there is easy loot to be scavenged from the dead, and thus a unit in contact or on top of a scavenge token may be commanded to scavenge that token, immediately adding 1 iron into your stockpile. Units that are equipped with heavy or plate armor drop an extra scavenge token, as do units who are equipped with kite shields. This means that after battle, the victor can spend time looting the battlefield, furthering their advantage over their opponent. We'll go over the rules for attacking buildings and attacking with buildings in another lesson. However, our next lesson, the final lesson on how to manage a Kingdom 101 series, details the psychology of humans, specifically when and where your units are expected to disobey your commands and to take flight in fear of their lives. Onward, my liege!